What's up, guys? I'm Eric Hines,
And I'm Chris Otto.
and this is According to
Men.
Men. Welcome back. This is officially episode 58, and this is Iron Mind Perspective number 2. Today we are talking about why most men get themselves stuck, why they feel stuck, frustrated, unfulfilled, not purposeful in their journey. And then, of course, as always, and what we're about here at According to Men is providing solutions. So, Chris, when we talk about feeling stuck, and I know we've both been in those shoes before many, many years ago, but it's really a quick turnaround once you identify what kind of those core reasons why you're feeling stuck are. Do you know off the top of your head kind of some of the things that I know you and I both were feeling in those shoes, but maybe that we can relate to the listener based upon kind of our own previous experience?
Yeah, I mean, I felt stuck in my life probably for about, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was recently, about 5 years ago, that I identified that I was stuck. And, it took me hitting rock bottom to really realize that I was stuck. There was points before that I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. Had no idea at that time actually where I wanted to be as well. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of guys. They don't really know. They hit a certain age and they're like, man, I'm not where I want to be. And that a lot of times stems from comparing to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's multifaceted. I mean, there's a lot of challenging aspects of that, and really diving into that and truly understanding the type of man that you want to be is going to be a major catalyst in breaking out of that situation of feeling like you're stuck.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up how age plays such a role and a factor in guys feeling stuck, because if you do enough damage, you go along far enough in your life and you don't course correct, you're going to kind of feel that anxiety creep up on you because you are getting older. Nobody defeats father time. And a lot of times where like we see this in women, right? They have, yes, they have this body clock, but they also have this self-imposed clock from society on when it is that they should actually get pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same is true almost with a man's awakening and his true becoming of the refined man that he's supposed to be. The longer that you wait, the more difficult and arduous sometimes that path can be, but that's often to your benefit, because obviously with the most struggle comes the most adversity.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, man, and you could probably relate to this, before I got myself unstuck, so to speak, I was a huge freaking procrastinator. Like I would wait to the last minute to get stuff done. And then sometimes by the skin of my teeth, I would get tasks done that I knew that I should have gotten done way earlier. And there's a lot of value in identifying that, because like we talk about all the time, especially when you're identifying the man who you want to be and don't want to be, there's a lot of prep work involved.
Yeah.
And if you're delaying that prep work or you're waiting to the last minute to do it, you're kind of half-assing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Procrastination was huge for me too. And even to this day, it's a huge challenge for me.
It doesn't go away.
Naturally, by nature,
Mm-hmm.
I am a lazy person. I am not a very disciplined person. So that's something that I have to continuously work on.
Mm-hmm.
And just the consistency and the habitualness of doing things over and over and over again are what make it, I don't want to say easier, but seemingly more simple,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
It does.
But
Makes it more familiar
yeah,
when you are able to collect those wins and accomplish those tasks.
yeah, because I don't think it ever gets easier. It's still waking up in the morning is still a challenge. Getting in a cold shower is still a challenge. There's all these things that you don't want to do that are going to benefit you, but you still got to do them.
Yep.
You still got to face it, knowing that you don't want to face it. But that's where discipline comes in. That's where that mindset of consistency comes in. And, you know, when we're talking about feeling stuck, you can feel stuck in multiple areas of your life. You can feel stuck in a dead end job. You can feel stuck in a relationship that's not really going anywhere. You can feel stuck in multiple areas if you're not feeling like you're making some sort of progress. You can feel stuck with your health and fitness, right? And if you don't, and when I was probably about 19, 20, 21 years old, like, yeah, I felt stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't have any aspirations really whatsoever. I knew I didn't want to be a loser,
Mm-hmm.
but not having that clear direction caused me to escape the fact that I was feeling stuck. So I drank.
Yeah.
I'd go out and party. And a lot of guys, they fall into that trap. And that progressed into my 30s and into my mid 30s.
Yeah.
You know, you have a little success along the way, these small successes,
Mm-hmm.
because as you get older, you should have milestones, so to speak, that you hit. You know, you're going to elevate yourself maybe career wise. You're going to elevate maybe income wise. You're going to elevate maybe relationship wise.
Mm-hmm.
But these small little steps that you're making, if you still don't clearly define who you want and need to be in your life as a man, then you're most likely going to continue, no matter what the little successes are,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to continue to try and escape because you haven't clearly defined who you want to be. So there's still going to be this feeling of lack in your life, like something is missing from your life.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And to your point, it only takes one part of your life to feel out of place for your entire life to feel out of place.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We know, yeah, you have to have the wins to show for. And as you collect and stack them, you can transfer a lot of that momentum and positive energy into other areas to help course correct those things as well. But oftentimes, guys will dig themselves a deep enough hole in one aspect of their life where they can't even really tap into the wins or successes into other areas because that one piece is holding them back so much.
Correct.
And, you know, the one thing that doesn't get talked about enough too with guys, and we see this all the time, we see dudes just pounding their chest on wins that they've had in the past. You know, yes, you need to collect these wins and you need to have a track record of success to not only prove it to yourself that you're capable of doing it, but to others around you that you are able to deliver on your promise and you are a man of integrity. But we do so operating with the present and the future in mind. We're not sitting here saying, oh, you know, I used to bench press 315 in high school, right? We all know that guy that is just reminiscing on that one huge win they had decades ago. That's not even part of their identity today. And then, you know, I
know
think
guys in their 30s who still talk like that. They constantly focus on what they did in the past. They constantly focus on their football career in high school, college. They talk about their old wins. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing now that you can talk about?
Yeah, so there's always room for improvement, but I think there's this onus for you to continue to sharpen the blade, right? And not think about, oh, well, I used to be X, Y, and Z. I used to have this. A great example is when I ran the ultra marathon. Mm-hmm. I did a couple of, we did a podcast episode on it. I may have done a couple posts on social media. Haven't even thought about it since, right? Didn't talk about it. It's not something that, it's in my trophy case for sure, but on to new and better things, right? And it's not to say that like, oh, I'm going to do another ultra marathon this year. I'm not even sure if that's in the cards yet, but my focus and intent and drive from that event is elsewhere. And I'm not just rehashing that one significant win over and over and over. And I think that's a clear sign of the growth and the opportunity that you look for in, as a man and in your friends too. because if you're surrounding yourself with people that are just constantly reliving the glory days and not doing anything about their life today, it wakes you up. Like, you open your eyes to that reality, and you quickly either choose to not partake in it anymore, or, I don't know, rinse and repeat your same actions.
Yeah, you make that your identity when all you talk about is the past and what you used to do. And now that's what defines you, right? That you peaked. You peaked in high school, or you peaked in your college years.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all about the things that you're doing every single day to get better. Stop talking about the past. Stop living in the past. Live in the present moment. It's like that marathon that we ran. We talked about it a couple of times on the podcast. And that was the first marathon that I've ever ran. This is probably the only time that I've brought it up since that time on the podcast.
Yeah.
But, if people ask me if I've ran a marathon before, to me, it's like not even a big deal at all. Like, yeah, I've ran a marathon. I don't care what my time was. It's not a big deal at all.
Yeah, I think.
What are you doing next, right?
I think, as we continue talking about this, we see it all the time, the conversation of, 1% better every day, right? Which I agree is a good mentality to have. You should have at least small incremental improvements every day. But to your point, man, you should be chasing new, higher peaks every single day, right? Because like the peak that was the marathon, however many years, that was like almost 3 years ago now. I feel like maybe 4.
Yeah, three or 4 years ago.
Right? It's not even a blip on your radar, because there's other things that you've accomplished since then, or that you're focusing on accomplishing now, that it's not even part of the conversation.
Yeah. And then
there's lessons learned from it.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. You can look back on that and reflect on it. And there's different interests that you have now in different things. And now the next level up might be something regarding business. Right?
Yeah, it's translatable.
Yeah.
So we talk about procrastination. That's definitely a big one. I can cite many instances and many events in my life where at the time I may not have admitted that procrastination played a huge role in me taking that L, but you can definitely see it. And that plagued me, God, as long as I can remember, man. I was that way in high school. And like you said, it's kind of innate in our nature, especially just because of being part of Western civilization. But, I think another huge one, and we've talked about this before, but I want to kind of get into the nitty gritty with it, is negative self-talk. I think that's one that a lot of guys struggle with, but you're never going to see that on the surface.
Well, that's a reason a lot of guys can't get unstuck. That's a reason why they stay stuck, because they're limiting beliefs that they have about themselves, right? And I had those limiting beliefs, and that's still something that you got to chip away every single day, right? Because if everybody had this positive self-talk, this positive belief about themselves 24/7, and that was the be all and end all, then everybody would be doing fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's negative self-talk can happen without you even realizing it too.
Yeah, and we surround ourselves with fuel sources that make it worse, right? Because if you think about all of the things in our external environment, all of the stimuli, all of the things that get said to us, all of the things that we hear with our ears, all the things that we see, every bit of that gets stored. Our brains are incredible. Everybody wants to say it's a supercomputer. I mean, it is literally an entire universe. We just have all of this unnecessary pieces of our existence in our subconscious. And all of that, regardless of how you perceive it, how you react to it in your environment, is in here. So the thoughts that you conjure can get really deep and dark really quick. And if you don't have a control over that headspace and that narrative that you create, it can get real bad real fast. And what people don't realize, though, is as above, so below. You have the equal and opposite opportunity to have a really positive impact on your life if you completely flip that script. Because just how it can get deep, dark real quick, and you can go down this really depressive, negative state, you can do that to completely change your life, so much so that people don't even recognize you anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we see this often where a lot of people need a hard reset or switch. They'll often go and do, you know, a retreat or something like that, or they'll have this very cathartic experience. You know, sometimes it can even be a near-death experience, and it changes people's perspective instantaneously. And a lot of times, the only way that you can really enact that in your own life is, you know, I think everybody wants the quick fix. They want that flip of a switch, but you have to chip away at that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the challenge when it comes to negative self-talk, because and we're not talking about the brutal honesty that you're having with yourself, because some people can see that as, well, I'm not going to talk negative about myself. No, you're just being honest. If you look in the mirror at yourself and you're overweight, you're fat, and you're just a lazy POS, I'll just say it, then you got to get crystal clear and honest with yourself that you are that at this present moment. But that right there does not have to define you. Now it's time to start switching the way that you think about yourself, the way that you speak about yourself. It's okay to be brutally honest with yourself. Hey, I'm fat, or my character is not where it should be. I'm a liar. I'm a thief. You know, that kind of stuff. Get honest, get clear with yourself, and then start to change that. That's where that crystal clear mindset needs to come in, of knowing who you want and need to be, and then start working on your character from there. Right?
Yeah.
And switching the way that you speak about yourself. Like one of the things that I did, this is huge, because I didn't have anybody tell me this. I didn't have anybody teach me this when I was removing alcohol, tobacco, pornography from my life. I didn't have some book or some guru tell me that, okay, you need to change the way that you think and change the way that you speak to yourself and about yourself. I didn't have some guru tell me to stand in front of a mirror and start saying these positive affirmations about myself. I probably did that for about a week, and I was like, this is corny. I don't feel like doing this anymore. What I did was I told myself, and thinking in terms of the best version of myself, which was a completely different person from who I was the moment I became brutally honest with myself, I started to say to myself, I don't drink. The best version of me does not watch pornography. I don't use tobacco. So I completely switched the mindset from, I'm an alcoholic, I'm trying to quit drinking. It wasn't that I'm trying to quit porn. It was, I don't watch this stuff. So I had to start reshaping and reframing the way that I thought and thinking the way that the new version of me thinks.
Yeah, it's an identity shift.
Yeah, so that in and of itself is transformational.
Yeah, you know, negative self-talk can be used as a weapon for good, right? For your self-improvement. But we all know this. The difference between a victor and a victim is action.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can call yourself a fat POS, but if you don't do something about it, then that is the negative self-talk that we're referring to, right? It's the conversation with yourself, albeit brutally honest or not, that you're not addressing the corrective action that needs to take place. You're just wallowing in self-pity. You're just complaining, right? And this goes back to procrastination too, because every time we see this constantly, Chris and I have people come up to us, we have men come up to us and say, man, I've been feeling like crap. I've been doing X, Y, and Z. I haven't been doing this, that, and the other. I'm going to start Monday. And we immediately know, unfortunately, that they're not going to do anything in the long term. That a lot of those people don't even start on Monday. They just don't. It's the wrong mentality. And that is a procrastination mindset in itself. You're setting yourself up for failure before you even begin. Because you're telling yourself that this isn't a big enough problem where I need to address it right now, where I need to drop everything in my life. And if I don't change right this second, then nothing will change. What you're telling your body, your mind, the universe, God, is that this isn't a huge priority. I could wait a couple of days until I start. And then when you start, it's half-assed because you just gave the opportunity for the enemy and your negative self-talk to infiltrate you over those last couple of days and moments to where you're now what would be an excited, invigorating, refreshing start, that you would get that immediate reward feedback on the back end of that tough workout that you should have been doing every single day. Now you're starting from less than zero and you're discouraged. You don't have anybody to be accountable to, and you're going to fall right back into the same pit that you were. And I mean, as much as we talk about this stuff and the answers, the resources, the information's right in front of these men, they don't really want it. And you can't tell them that to their face because they get offended. It's only the person that really understands that they need to change that's like, oh, you're right, Eric, you're right, Chris, you know what, I gotta just nut up and just do this now. Right? And we'll have those conversations too. They're very few and far between, unfortunately, but those are the men that completely 180 their lives, without a doubt.
And the reason you can't change the belief that you have about yourself, and this is to those who struggle with it, this is to those who are sitting here listening to this and saying, well, how do I think more positive about myself? I don't believe in myself. Well, the reason you don't believe in yourself is because you're not doing what it takes to increase that level of belief in yourself. It's up to you. It's not up to somebody else to do that for you. It's not up to somebody else to instill in you a belief about yourself. It's completely up to you. That's why that saying that nobody's coming to save you, you've got to save yourself. It's up to you to do the work. Otherwise, nothing's going to work. That's what that means. You're the one who has to change that belief in yourself. And the way that you change that belief in yourself is by getting consistent, keeping the promises that you make to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, if you say you're going to, like right now, you might not believe in yourself about, I'm going to lose weight. But if you say that you're going to lose weight, then start with, don't worry about the big picture of losing the weight. Just start with getting in the gym. Keep that promise to yourself. Stack that win. That's a win right there in and of itself, day in and day out, that's going to increase your confidence because you start to believe in yourself just a little bit more when you tell yourself you're going to do something and you do it. You follow through with it. If you tell yourself you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, then wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. But every single time that you tell yourself that you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and you sleep in until 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., with just enough time to take a shower and go straight to work, every time that you do that, you break that promise, you're dwindling your confidence away, or you're carrying it more into the negative of what it already is. So you got to deliver on those promises, and nobody can do that for you. You have to do that for yourself. That's the key. Dude, this is so simple, but it's so complicated at the same time because the human aspect of everything, your emotions, and you relying on motivation and all of this stuff that is, motivation's not always going to be there. That's why discipline, that's why it's the small things every single day. They're going to amount to the bigger things over time. You've got to do the work for yourself.
Preach, bro. Yeah, we hold all the cards, man. We and us alone. Like, We are the only individuals that are going to save ourselves. And you have to embrace the trial and error, brother. Like Chris and I, when we started, first of all of the excuses we hear nowadays, it's always the same ones. Lack of knowledge, lack of resources, lack of time. You control all of that. And we're in the most information wealth world. Even if you don't know something, you could look it up and it's on you to do that, right? Back, like Chris has got, almost a decade on me, and he didn't really have the internet truly like when you were growing up and when you first started lifting, right?
No, man, we had, when I was in, I think it was middle school, they came out with the internet.
Yeah.
And then it was AOL, and they had chat rooms and all that. They had dial-up. We had dial-up.
Dial-up, yeah.
Y'all Google what dial-up internet sounds like. We had to plug the phone cord, the phone jack in, and it was so slow. Like loading up would just took freaking forever.
It sounds like me when I'm hitting failure.
Yeah, it was wild.
But the point being is you just have to start, right? Like I think just kind of to summarize, right, like why most men feel stuck and why things don't change and like how they can change them is there are too many men now that are just getting into paralysis by analysis. They're thinking about how they should approach it and what things they should know beforehand and what things they should have in their arsenal and who they should have by their side. Like, you need to just go solo and you just need to figure it the F out. I didn't know anything about weightlifting, about nutrition when I first started. And most of everything I learned about personal development was in the gym by doing it by myself. And yes, did I do research along the way as it came available? And did I question certain narratives, right? Because like today's information age, yeah, there's too much. There's too many talking heads, too many people that think they're an expert. There's too many people talking out of their ass with statistics and all that stuff. But you still have that even back then. And you would question it and you would look up the data and you would formulate your own opinion and apply in the field what it actually was like. Okay, I didn't know you're supposed to do curls this way, and you try it and you feel like crap. Well, maybe your body's anatomy does not supply that particular form, right? And that's just like a weird one-off example, but like you just have to go, put in the work, put in the action, and figure it out, and you will be fine. You're going to fail plenty of times. There's nothing wrong with failure. But to let fear and excuses that are meaningless propagate and stifle you from becoming the man that you're meant to be is just absolutely absurd.
It's asinine.
It's crazy. So, in summary, with all of the stuff that Chris and I talked about today, none of this is new information, brother. It's not. You have to come to terms with what your current situation is, regardless of past wins and losses. What are you going to do today that's going to set you up for success tomorrow? And do the work, especially when you don't feel like doing it, when conditions aren't perfect. Build that consistency and that momentum so that you can collect as many wins as possible. And like Chris and I have talked about before, by the time you actually sit back and you reflect on how far you've come, chances are you've probably already developed discipline at that point.
Yeah. Really it's like putting together a puzzle. You don't put the entire puzzle together all at one time. No. It's piece by piece. You got to find the pieces, you got to fit the pieces together, make sure the pieces match and all of that. I'll give you an example. I was going through a phase of bulking, and I don't like to bulk because I don't like putting on body fat. I just hate the way that I look with body fat, and there's ways to bulk where you can minimize the body fat and all of that. And I was doing it as clean as possible, put on more body fat than I'd like. And I like to maintain a 6-pack year round. So putting on excess body fat, I was I hate the way that I look. So now I'm going on a cut. I'm shredding down the body fat. But when I initially made the decision, okay, I'm stopping my bulk, I'm going to start removing the body fat, all I could think about at that moment, and I got overwhelmed, I thought about, okay, this is going to take an awfully long time. And before summer rolls around, I want to be shredded again. And I had to get out of my head about it because it's one day at a time. And repeat that the next day and repeat that the next day. And it's very freeing once you start to adopt that mindset of stop thinking about the big picture. You know, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. You're not going to eat the entire elephant all at once, right? So it's one bite at a time. It's one day at a time, doing the things that you know work. And then you start to watch the body fat fall off. You start to see the scale drop. And that's all you focus on, is just doing the things that you know that work, staying consistent, staying disciplined with that day in and day out. And a couple months down the road, you're going to turn around and you're going to look and you're going to say, man, that wasn't even that difficult. I look great. I'm loving this. Transformation.
Awesome. So guys, in addition to liking and subscribing to our channel, go ahead and comment below. Revisit that time in your life where you felt stuck. It could even be right now, brother. That's totally okay. We obviously would love to help with not just continued knowledge and resources through these episodes, but even through other avenues like the Iron Mind Tribe. Go ahead and comment below what got you stuck and how you were overcoming that process. And let us know if you've got any questions. You can always shoot us a message. Follow us on Instagram at According to Men. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.
Till next time. Peace.